Now, as I said, I don't have an answer. I'm not saying value maximization is better or maybe.
It has anything to do with the supply chain concept. Like now, I'm thinking about all of my stakeholders, and I need to make them work for all of them. Instead of focusing about
Your shareholders.
about only my own shareholders. Now I'm talking about the other stakeholders
Yes.
who might.
So examples of stakeholders who are involved with the business. When we say stakeholders,
Suppliers,
suppliers, yes,
end users,
end users, customers,
Employees.
employees are very important
Internal.
stakeholders. Regulators in general, yes, and the society at large. If you think of the environment, for example, and the role of corporations in protecting or harming the environment, then the community at large or the society at large becomes also an important stakeholder, because there is a cost, there is a direct cost of the business for the whole society. So actually how we define a stakeholder is anyone who has a direct claim on the business. It's not only the shareholder who has a direct claim, right? All these people who are involved in the business or who may suffer or profit or benefit from the action of the business are stakeholders.
So do we say do you say the trend of global supply chain is falling under this concept, those CEOs concept?
The trend is to say it's not really acceptable to say that our focus is on our shareholders and we are maximizing value for shareholders. This is no longer acceptable, and that's what these CEOs are saying. I will send you a few articles. It was like a few weeks ago actually when they announced this. Of course, this has been debated long time, but now having the most important CEO saying it and announcing it is more impactful actually, because they have to translate this in their way of making business and in their way of making financial decisions, for instance. And as I said, they are saying this, but at the same time it's making their task more difficult, because how do you cater to all these stakeholders is yet to be maybe
the reason
solved.
The reason why they cater to those stakeholders is indirectly for the benefit of their shareholders.
Yes, I do agree with this, that ultimately if you do everything right, it will end up
because if they do something that will harm, they will not do it. So ultimately, it's the same concept. It's just going through a loop.
Exactly. Yeah. There is also another theory that talks about the customer. If you put the customer at the heart of your business, then ultimately also you will maximize value for your shareholders, and you will also.
Same in East Asia and Japan, when they focused on their employees, they said, okay, we will focus on our employees. They did that so that the employees can work harder, produce more work, and it will benefit the shareholders again.
Yes.
It's the same argument, like it's just a loophole.
Yes, but this is from, again, a conceptual point of view. But practically speaking, when I say it's vague, it means that it becomes more difficult to implement. Because if you have when you make your decisions, for example, we talked about investment decisions. What's an investment decision? Is to choose between two projects, or to say I go or I don't go. For example, choosing between outsourcing or producing domestically by investing in the long-term assets is an investment decision, right? Now, the way we make these investment decisions, do you have any idea of how we make such investment decision? How do we decide? For example,
net present value.
Exactly, net present value. That's a very good example. We will calculate the NPV of the project. The net present value is based on the basics actually of finance, the risk-return relationship, the fact that we have to estimate the cash flows, discount them back to the present, etc., etc. And then we will decide. NPV positive, we go for the project. NPV negative, we don't go for the project. Well, this is the decision we are making here is based on what? Are we looking at all the stakeholders here? We are focused on maximizing value, because the NPV by construction it's value creation. For whom? For the shareholders. Of course, we can prove that value of equity, maximizing the value of equity, is equivalent under certain assumptions to maximizing the value of the whole business. But still, it's still very narrow perspective. It's still based on. Now, if you tell me, well, give up all this and focus on all stakeholders, then you have to give me an alternative to the NPV. I'm trying to be very pragmatic here, you see? Yes, it's ultimately, yes, as you said, if you do everything right, if you are ethical, if you cater to all these stakeholders, you'll end up maximizing the value. But how can I measure? How can I know which direction I will give strategically to my business in terms of my investments, in terms of my financing, etc., if I need to focus on different stakeholders? Okay? Managers have to make decisions, and you have to give them the tools to make those decisions, right? If they don't have the tools, they will be maybe making decisions in a more subjective way, which may end up, as you said, serving the purpose of maximizing value for everybody, or may end up being also the wrong decisions to be made. Yes.
So I think this shift will create an opportunity, many opportunities to create new tools.
Exactly. Yes.
To turn the subjective decision to an objective one.
I agree. I think that's why I'm saying this is a wonderful research opportunity, because just translating this into tools, as you said, okay, it's good. The idea, we agree on it. I think no one can disagree with the fact that we should focus on all stakeholders, etc. But how can we translate this into
Numbers.
Tools, into decision-making tools? Because that's at the end of the day what we are doing. If you are a CEO of a company, you are making decisions. You are not just thinking, reading books and thinking whether this should,
It's very dependent on the nature of this company. Not
exactly.
all value is financial.
Yes,
Some companies might want to gain value in a reputation, for example, sense. Yeah,
Yes.
it's different.
yes, I agree. But at the end of the day, again, you have to have the tools to make decisions.
But it's
And,
still
and
I'm saying it's a big decision to be made, because it does not depend on you. It will be like a network. Because others also have to cater for your for what you are planning, and because it's mutual.
yeah, you mean
benefit.
businesses are linked also.
So I mean, even each company does not. It's not their own decision. I mean, they cannot just go and say, okay, our goal is to maximize the
Stakeholder.
value for the stakeholders. Also, others have to
They are
take it.
affected by the decisions of others as well. Yes.
So we choose this to make this decision, and the others they don't care about what we do.
Doctor, even now they are like they having you know that the ROI, the return on investment. Now people are thinking, especially in the non-profit and the CSR sections in some companies in Saudi Arabia, they are talking about evaluating different social opportunities through the social return on investment, SROI.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what you're saying. It's like coming up with new tools, coming up with new ways of measurement that take into account the social responsibility of the company, and that take into account also other stakeholders' benefits. So this is exactly what's
But
going
until
on.
now, this the social return on investment, the SROI. Until now, it's not that solid.
Accurate and so.
Yeah, because you need to have proxies to turn social benefits or into numbers, dollars. How to calculate like saving lives in life for a kid in Yemen, or saving a life of a kid in Senegal. Which one will worth more in dollars? So, it's a debatable.
Yeah, actually, I agree. And there are lots of debates going on with regard to CSR, corporate social responsibility, and how we measure this, and also what we call the greenwashing that goes, because whenever you come up with ideas like this, there are always businesses who try to use this and maybe misuse it, actually. So basically, if you are telling me that I have to show that I'm doing the right things, I will simply show you that I'm doing the right thing. But this is what we call the greenwashing. You will just show whatever is needed to or tick the boxes that are needed, but the intention is not there. So, of course, there is a lot of research that is going on related to this, and I think it's a wonderful area of research. There are no definitive answers, but there are lots of things to be done with this. I personally did some research on the impact of culture, for example, on what we call the SRI flows of money. So it's socially responsible investment funds that flow into those what we call socially responsible funds. Is it affected by the culture? So that's something I did, and it's work in progress now. It's already submitted for publication, and the results are interesting to see how, for example, the culture from one country to another can affect how people are willing to invest in those socially responsible investment tools.
I did something similar. To this,
Okay.
How public or the crowdfunding.
Yes.
Of the SMS, how we can just raise the funding from the public to finance the SMEs projects.
Exactly.
And what are the social characteristics of that?
That's very
It
interesting
attributes
also.
affecting the behavior of the investor,
Exactly.
potential investor.
Yeah, exactly. It's for my research, it's really shows you how, as you said, social attributes affect the behavior of the investor. What you are mentioning also is a great research idea, and I think this is really now a very hot topic, what we call entrepreneurial finance. So how to raise finance for new ventures, like for startups through crowdfunding or through venture capital or private equity at a later stage. So all this is something now called entrepreneurial finance, and it's really a very hot research topic whenever you search for new topics, or if you want to see, for example, what universities, what kind of scholarship universities are giving for PhDs, etc. They want to attract people towards those subjects. Because now we can see that businesses are, you will see that there is less funding coming through, for example, IPOs and SUs, etc., and more funding coming through venture capital and crowdfunding. And so this is the trend now. It's also related maybe to the fintech revolution in finance and new technologies and the role of these new technologies in creating new business models. And all this has some explanation. As you said, we can link all this to what we call formal and informal institutions. That's basically the role of institutions. Informal institutions are, it's basically related to culture, how the social attributes, how the culture affects those decisions. And formal institution is simply the environment, the institutional environment that you provide to the business in a specific country, and how it contributes to either attracting more of these initiatives or maybe pushing them away. So all this is really something that is now represents hot topics in finance. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes.
There is also something called the network engines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Can you elaborate on this?
I think you are talking here about like angel funding also. It's
the
like
angel fund
people who will
finance the whole project without
exactly.
It's like
We call them business angels. So wealthy people, they are willing. They want to go, maybe not go through the traditional way of investing. They want really to be involved in the businesses they believe in. So they will attract new ideas. They are willing to invest in those new ventures or startups, etc.
Invest or
Mhm.
donation?
Invest. If we're talking about donation, it's something else. It's more like philanthropic type of
Bill Gates.
activities, etc. Yeah, but they do both actually. Even the guy like Bill Gates, he does both. He does the philanthropic activity and he does also the angel investment. Yeah.
Yeah, I think angel investors, they just because they give money to people that have high risk in their ideas.
Mhm.
Maybe people will see their investments as donations because
Yeah, I see your point. Yeah.
True, لأن these are a nature of a social business or social projects that they have a lot of amount of
It's
risk.
like crowdfunding also. When you give a few dollars to a company,
Music,
you think, okay, I'm giving the few dollars. Sometimes they promise you something in exchange,
equity.
and you don't really count on it. You think, okay, if it works, I'll get it. If it doesn't work, I'll
Yeah.
just contribute to the prosperity of this new business, just in case. The idea also of seed money or venture capital or angel funding is that you pick 100 projects. If one of them works and 99 don't, the one that works will make up for all your losses in the other 99 projects. So the idea is really a very, as you said, a very high risk and a very high probability of
Very high return.
failure, but the return you get from the few successes that may happen is enough to compensate for all the losses. So this is the main idea, and this is based on an idea also of diversification. You have to invest in many different projects so that even if you lose in a few, what you will gain in other projects will be again worth it. So yes, it ends up in many cases with nothing, but the cases that succeed are really worth the investment. So yeah, we went into many directions here, but this was just to make you think a little bit of this idea of value maximization that is at the heart of corporate finance, the traditional corporate finance at least, and how just expanding this idea to different stakeholders' wealth, if you want, makes it also a very rich, or can lead to a very rich array of topics that we can talk about. So it is part of this big picture. Now,
Sorry, Doctor.
the break.
Sorry.
Okay, so let's take the break now and we'll continue after.
Normally we take the break and have
The dinner.
The dinner.
So one single break and then.
Yeah.
So let's say 20 minutes since we start the date is okay, or is 25 minutes? Sure. Yeah.
So when shall we come back?
Let's say 10 past 7.
10 past.
Yes.
Does it change
كل كنت عشان الفيديو حق الريفيو سووا شيرنج
And apparently, most people didn't know that this class was